Locking techniques of concurrency control. Let us see the concepts for the concurrency controls and their functions. The concept of locking data items acts as a framework for one of the primary methods used to provide a serializable execution of transactions or to control concurrency execution of transactions. A lock is a variable that is linked to a particular piece of data in the database and represents the item's current state with regard to the prospective operations that could be carried out on it. For the most part, every data item in a database has its own lock. Having the most concurrency and the lowest possible level of latency in transaction processing is the primary objective of locking. Another main purpose for the data world for concurrency techniques, any two concurrent activities on an object are referred to by the term concurrent actions within the data world. That's teaching in English. When we obtain the transaction that causes to wait for a message or locking the table that leads to the caution or warning while writing to a table. But it seems quite nice. The concept of locking is straightforward for a transaction that obtains and that acquires a lock on an object when it requires reassurance that during the transaction's absence from the CPU, this is an object, usually a database record that is accessing in some machine. It will not change in an unforeseen way. The item cannot be accessed by other transactions due to the locking variable. As a result, the initial transaction can be confident that the subject object will continue to exist in a stable state for as long as the transaction wants. According to the two-phase locking protocol that belongs to the database, which belongs to the concurrency control, if the lock item is X, the first we have to check if lock X item is unlocked, then lock the item X 1. So in the binary value, binary lock, we have to use 0 and 1. Then begin and wait until the lock X becomes 0 and the lock manager wakes up the transaction. Then again go to B and lock the item again. And the item, it will be unlocked and then lock item. When we go to unlock item, if the lock item is 0, which means unlock the item. If any transactions are waiting, then wake up one of the waiting transactions. Observe that the lock item and unlock item actions have to be implemented as indivisible units, referred to as critical sections in operating systems. Once a lock or unlock operation is initiated, there shouldn't be any interleaving until the operation ends or the transaction waits.